Welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by simpletut.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create your own unique menus using nothing but HTML and CSS. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the files we'll be using in the tutorial. So to do that, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this menu.php. Now this is the file we'll actually be inserting our code and our menu into. Now if you have a layout or a page that you want to actually use in this, to insert your menu that you create, then that's fine. If not, you just want to follow along with the tutorial, then you can create a page and call it anything you want. Now the second thing I'll create is a new folder. I'm going to call this CSS, and within this folder I'm going to create two style sheets, and one is going to be called menu.css, and the second file is going to be called main body.css. Now what I've done here is I've created two style sheets and one PHP page I'm going to use to insert the menu into it, as I said. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse my files panel. We don't need that anymore. The first thing you'll notice is that right now the page we're using is blank. I'm going to just create a very simple div tag to contain the menu, so you'll be able to follow along with the tutorial and see everything a lot easier. Before I can do that, as always, we need to set a 0 margin on the page. Easiest way to do that, expand the properties inspector, click on page properties and set a 0 margin. And when I do that, you'll notice that my cursor immediately gets pushed up right up into the top corner. And that's just going to be a very important step, because when we start inserting our div tags and we apply margins, it's very important, if you want everything to appear the way you develop it, everything to be truly centered, you need to apply this margin at this stage. If we come into code view, you'll see it's created some very simple CSS for us. But what we want to actually do is, when we do develop websites, is to use external style sheets. That gives us cleaner code and also makes our lives easier, because we can create our elements, our HTML elements such as div tags and menus. And if we set the CSS in a separate style sheet, let's give you an example. You wanted to change the background color. If this is in an external style sheet, you can change the style sheet and it will take effect site-wide. Now if you have to go through every single individual page on your site to change it, if you don't have a style sheet, if the CSS is in every individual page, you need to update it on every page. So that's why we have style sheets. Let's go into code view, and the first thing we'll need to do after our opening head tag is actually link to the style sheets so that we can use them. To do that, we just need to write out the following very simple code. If we come into our CSS folder here, we'll say menu. So after that, we'll just write real style sheet type text CSS. So it's very simple. I'm going to copy this code and I'm just going to change this to main body. Now this is case sensitive, so remember, everything has to be exactly the same as the files are called. And we can now access these style sheets from within our actual menu.php file within Dreamweaver, which is another handy tool. So the first thing I'll do is I'm just going to create a basic div tag to contain our menu. So between our body tags, I'm going to create a div, give it the ID of menu holder, and basically within our main body CSS, I'm going to target the div. To do that, as you can see, I've given the div tag an ID of menu holder. If we come into design view, it's kind of, the div exists, it's on the page, and Dreamweaver shows you that the div is here through these sort of dotted line here. If we click on it, you'll see more clearly the div is there, but there's no rules applied to this. It is here, it exists, but it's sort of in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. So we need to give it some rules, to target the div, to tell it what we want it to do. So let's go to main body CSS, and basically to target this div tag we need to hashtag and then the ID, and then we're going to do opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket, and everything in between these brackets is where we insert our CSS. So let's insert our CSS rules. So the first one is going to be obviously setting a width, and I'm going to set a width of about 800 pixels. At the end of every line of CSS, we need to put a semicolon. That basically tells the script to go on to the next line. This line's finished. We're going to set a height. The height is going to be set to about 60 pixels. We're going to set a margin from the top of about 21 pixels. We're going to set a margin from left and right auto. And what we do that for is it basically centers the div. So if we click in, you're going to see now what we've created. Simple div to just house and contain the menu we create. So now we're ready to actually go ahead and write, or should I say create, our menu. Let's go into the source code of menu.php. We're inserting our menu into our div tag that we just created. So between these tags, we're going to create basically we're going to be using the nav element, and this is a new HTML5 element, but we're going to use this to house our menu. Between these tags, we're going to use Dreamweaver's insert panel, scroll along to text, and it's got some shortcuts here which is going to help us write the code. So we're going to first insert an unordered list, and then we're going to insert a list item. Okay, within the list item tags, between them, we're going to create a link. So href. For now, we'll set the link as a hashtag, and basically between these two tags here, we'll just write home. Now, if I copy this list item, I'm going to paste it out 3 times. The second, I'm going to call, let's say it's about, and the third I'm going to say is contact. Now if I come into design view, you're going to see all we've done is actually create a bullet point list. So what we now want to do is actually go ahead and style our menu. So the first thing we'll do is come over to our menu CSS style sheet, and we'll start to actually do something. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to target the nav UL. Okay, what that does is allows us to target our unordered list, and what we're going to do is we're going to set a margin of 0, and we're going to set the padding to 0 also. When we do that, you're going to see that it basically gives us a 0 for margin and padding. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to target the list element. So nav ULLI, and here what we're going to do is we're going to set the list style type to none. We're going to float this to the left. We're going to set the we're going to display this as a block, and also we're going to now set the actual width of the tabs. So we'll say width about 150 pixels. Height we'll set to 60 pixels because that was the height of the container that we created. And now we're going to say text align center. We'll set a line height of about 55 pixels. We're going to use a font family, and you can choose any font that you like. And we're also going to choose a font size, and I'm going to set this to about 16, maybe 17 pixels. And if I now click in here, you're going to see what we've created. So we've created the basic style for the menu. Now, of course, we want to set a few other things too. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to basically, you're going to see here that we have an underline for the links. and that the link color is blue. I don't like that, so we're going to change that. So to do that, we're going to say nav ULLIA. This targets the link. We're going to say text decoration, and we're going to set that to none. And we're going to say color, and we're going to set that to whatever color we want. For now, I'll set that to a simple gray color. And you're going to see that basically changes the link color for us. The next thing we need to do is just target our menu. So what we want to do is create a few more links. Let's come over to our source code. If you want to create another link, all you have to do is copy the list item. Just create more list items. So let's create about maybe 2 more. And we've got space for 1 more on the list. And let's come back to design view. There you go. And now that we've done that, you can see that we've basically created more options on our menu. So let's just rename these list items. So let's call this one link 1. Let's call this link 2. Let's call this link 3, and about and contact. That's fine. So this is basically the menu we're creating. Now if we preview this in our browser, you're going to see what we've created is just basically we've created the menu. The menu works fine, but there's no styling, there's no colors. So to do that, we have several options. We could give it a basic background color and then create a sort of hover effect. To do that, we probably just target the div tag itself. Instead of a color, we could set anything we want, like a nice sort of light gray, as you can see. And when we preview this in a browser, you're going to see this is the menu we've created. If you wanted to add a rollover effect, all you'd have to do is say nav ULLI hover, and then basically change the background color to something else. Say you want to change it to a darker gray. And now let's preview this once again in a browser, and you're going to see we have the effect we're after. Now, one thing you're also going to note here is that if you actually lay your cursor to click, you can only click if your cursor is actually over the text. So to fix that, all you need to do, come to your CSS once again, nav A, and just display block. That's all you need to do. Save that, go into your browser, and now you can see that you can actually click anywhere within the tabs, which is actually not a bad effect. But this isn't really what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to target each individual sort of block, and I want to apply a different background color. So to do that, I'm just going to remove what I just did, which was the color for the div and the hover color for the menu. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my source code, and just before the closing tag of my opening li tag, I'm going to say class, and I'm going to say blue. You can't use numbers here. So let's come back to our menu CSS. We're going to define this class. So blue, and we're going to say background color, and I'm going to say RGB. And basically what I've done here is I'm using RGB colors. The reason the reason I'm using RGB is because I'm going to create a color scheme. Now if I come here, this is what I'm using. I'm using Adobe Cooler, and basically this is going to allow me, I'll put a link in the description, but to create a color scheme. Now I can pick one. For example, if I wanted to edit this one, I could select any one of these colors. I can drag the cursor to change the color if I wish. And basically whenever I change a color, as you can see I'm doing here, if I click on one of these colors, say I'm happy with this, expand it, it gives me the RGB colors that I'm using. Now back in Dreamweaver, all I'm going to do is between these tags I'm going to insert the colors that I picked up from Adobe Cooler, and when I do and I come into design view, you'll see that the color has immediately taken effect within my menu. You're going to see that my menu has adopted that color, which is exactly what I was after. Now, just to show you what I can do, I'm going to go ahead and define a class here. So let's say class number 2, and in the menu CSS I'll just say number 2, and define the background color RGB, and you're going to see that if I come back into design view, it's going to apply the second color, and it's different to the rest of the menu options. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and apply colors to the rest of my menu. Now, as you can see, what I've done here is I've basically got one solid color for the menu and a different color for the item that's basically selected. So you'd basically say you were on the home page, you'd apply the first color to this menu item, and the rest of the options would be this color. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to apply a rollover effect, and all I'm going to do here is basically in the menu CSS where I've got the I'm going to apply the hover effect. So nav ul li hover, and basically I'm just going to set a border for the bottom of 3 pixels solid, and I'm going to define the color as sort of a dark gray. Now, what happens when I come into my design view, sorry, go to live view on my is now every time my cursor hovers over a menu item, you're going to see that we get this kind of rollover effect, which I quite like. Now, the next stage is to actually create a submenu. So on link 2, I'm going to create a submenu. All we have to do is come back to our source code, and basically underneath, before the closing li tag for the link, I want to change. So let's change this. Instead of saying link 2, let's say submenu. And before the closing list item tag, I'm going to insert another unordered list, and let's insert some list items here for this. So again, hashtag, very simple, sub item, and let's just copy that out for maybe 3 times. Sub item 1, sub item 2, and sub item 3. Now, so what we've done is we've created the HTML for our submenu. We now need to come into design view, and you're going to see that. Now, if I come back into design view, you're going to see immediately, especially if I launch this into a web browser, that my submenu is appearing at all times. I only want this to appear if I lay my cursor over the appropriate list item for the submenu. So to fix that, it's very simple. I need to come to menu CSS, and I need to create some new CSS. So I'm going to say nav ul, and basically here I'm going to set display to none. And immediately if I come back into design view, you're going to see that my submenu has disappeared. But I want this to return if it's basically hovered. So I'm going to say nav ul li hover greater than ul, and then I'm going to display this to block. And now you're going to see, if I come back into design view, and if I launch this in a web browser, when I lay my cursor over my submenu, I get my submenu items. Now, the final problem I'm having with the menu is that the submenu items, as you can see, is just, it's kind of wild. Like, it's just all over the place. It's far too tool. So to fix this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my CSS. I'm going to write one last piece of code, which is nav ULLI. And then basically the code I'm going to write is basically the width, which is going to be the same width as the menu itself, which is 161.3 pixels. I'm going to set the height to another 60 pixels, and I'm going to set a line height to 55 pixels, and that's it. So let's save that, and let's come back into our browser, and you're going to see all I've done is I've just created a much more attractive submenu, as you can see. Thank you very much for following along with this video tutorial. If you have any questions, please visit our official website, which is simpletut.com. There'll be a link in the description of this video. Here we have a Ask a Question section, which is where our users and customers can come to our site, post a question, and a member of our support team will be more than happy to work with you, providing free support to resolve those issues with you. In addition, we also post all of our video tutorials on our website. These tutorials include creating responsive website layouts, image galleries, user registration systems, comment systems. We do offer even a tutorial on creating content management websites, classes on PHP. Of course, all is free. We also offer tutorials on photography and various other popular videos. We also have a freebies section, and some of our most popular downloads include a free user registration system. I'd also like to take this chance to invite you to visit our official website, which is siteeasy.com. This is there'll also be a link in the description of this video. Here we offer a range of different products and services, including pre-built PHP applications. These are applications designed to be incorporated into your existing websites. These include user registration, contact forms, site search, billing systems, digital goods for PayPal, and much more. We also offer complete pre-built websites. These are ideal for customers looking for a one-stop solution. These include a free installation. Some of our popular products include file upload, content management, e-commerce, and of course social networking. Of course, in addition, we support all of our users, and if you do have any questions, feel free to contact and get in touch with a member of our team via the contact form available on our website. As always, I'd also like to encourage you to support us and enable us to continue offering this free support and tutorials by liking our Facebook page. This will also enable us to keep you updated on the various new tutorials and products as they are released.